Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and today we're going to be doing something kind of bizarre, something very niche. Everyone else is talking about PS5 and Xbox Series X. Exclusively here, we're going to be talking about the Commodore Amiga CD32. So this is bizarre and niche even for me, but sit with me here. I think this is just going to be kind of a fun discussion for like the 8 people that watch this video, because I'm telling you right now, nobody's going to watch this one, and I know that going in. I don't care about the views, man. I care about just exciting things that are fascinating in retro gaming that I find bizarre that I want to talk about. And I genuinely commend those of you out there who's like, you know what does he have to say about getting RGB out of an Amiga CD32? I am genuinely curious. You guys are the real MVPs. So here's the situation. Obviously, I've done an entire video on the Amiga CD32 and its history, but for those who didn't see that video and just, what the hell am I looking at? What's the elevator pitch here? This is the Commodore Amiga CD32. This console was released in 1993 by Commodore in the United Kingdom, Australia, and notably Canada. It never came out in the United States of America due to a legal situation Commodore had to deal with. However, the Canadian edition would be the same as the American edition. We just never got it, but it's extremely rare. My buddy Scott, the Canadian, actually owns a boxed one, but it's kind of a curse to own one because it's like winning an unlucky lottery, because even if you get it, you can't find games for it because the console's region locked, so it's just like stupid. But anyway, this is the PAL version, specifically the UK edition. This is by far the most common, and even now it is not a common console at all. But why are we talking about any of this? So here's the thing. I like to collect bizarre consoles. This is no secret to any of you guys. But in this case, what happened was when I first got it back in, I think it was 2014 or so, my buddy, or maybe it was even earlier than that, 2011, 2012, I honestly don't remember. I think it was 2014. At the time, a buddy of mine named Raymond, who lives out in Wales, he was the one that got this. He procured it. He upgraded it by like replacing some capacitors and things like that. But he also, at my request, did an RGB mod on it. And the reason I asked him to do that, aside from the video quality benefits, was just kind of the reality of the situation, which is this is a PAL console. Using it here is a logistical nightmare. The first element is the power. It's, I believe it uses 220 volts, and of course it uses a British-style power supply, their type of 3 prongs. So I had to basically get this, which is a step-down converter, which would allow me to convert it not only from the voltage standpoint, but also as a pin adapter. So you need that first. And the power brick on this thing's already ridiculous, so it's like, you're doing all this crap, it's insane. But alright, so then I was like, okay, cool. But you also have the video frequency issue, which is this console is PAL. So its 3 outputs are RF, which PAL RF is 100% useless here. Like, there's no way to tap into it that I'm aware of, and even if you could, why would you bother at this point in time? The other 2 options you had were composite and S-video, which would be usable, but not as good, as the potential RGB mod. So I asked him if that was doable, and he's like, oh, definitely. So he did the mod, and what he did was an external SCART mod. So like for the longest time, if you saw this in any of my other videos where I've ever mentioned it, it had a tail. There was a giant SCART cable hanging off of this thing. And the problem with it, though, aside from the aesthetics, was that it kind of didn't really work. That's the dumbest part, right? So, and it wasn't Raymond's fault. It was just kind of a limitation of the console itself. What we noticed was that I would take the SCART cable, and I actually plugged it into this old piece of crap, this old HD to SCART to HDMI adapter. When I first got it, it worked. I would plug it into this thing, and it played the games. Now, it didn't have sound, and he said that was actually intentional and that it was supposed to come out of the headphone jack. So it didn't quite work the way I wanted, but I was like, whatever, it kind of works. Years later, I upgraded to the FrameMeister, and it didn't work on the FrameMeister. I never understood why. It just didn't. I tried on the OSSC, and it wouldn't work on that, and it wouldn't work on things like the RetroTink. Like, none of them. It just didn't work. It would only work on this. And I was like, that sucks. But that was kind of, as far as I was concerned, the end of the journey. But a buddy of mine named Chris, who lives down in Indiana, actually did a video about all this PC Engine stuff that he had repaired for me. Hopefully you guys check that one out. after I got all the PC Engine stuff, I was talking to him about it and like how crazy it is that I have this like bizarre console and it's modified in this strange way. He's like, give me that. I'll take a look inside and I'll see if I can, clean that up and we can fix it or whatever. So I was like, sure. So I hook him up with the console, and he did exactly that. He went inside, he cleaned stuff up, redid the modification, but he got rid of the SCART jack on it, and he actually replaced it with a Genesis Model 2 RGB pinout. He installed it upside down, but that was intentional. That's how it's supposed to be done, I guess, just to make it fit. It's just like a mental note when you're plugging it in, turn it upside down. But I was like, oh, cool. So it's like a cleaner, nicer mod, whatever. So I get it back here. And he was like, I hope it works, because the only thing he had to test it with was this exact thing, which it already worked on, so we didn't really know if that would solve the problem. According to him, he had been looking online, and he was just like, most people say it doesn't work with stuff. It's just a bizarre mod. There's something about this console that's strange. Anyway, so I get it back here, and first thing I do is I connect it to the SCART cable, and I plug it into the FrameMeister, and I'm like, please, please, please. And I hear the sound come up, and I'm like, yes, the sound. No video. Doesn't work. Ah, heartbreaker. So then I connected to the RetroTink SCART edition by Mike Chi. And I was like, come on, sound, and no video. Same exact thing. Doesn't work. And I was like, well, okay. I'm no worse off. At least now the sound works, so presumably it functioned fine on here. And I just kind of put it away for the night because I was like, I'm depressed. I don't want to do this now. So later, I was talking to Mike Chi, again, he's the guy who designed the RetroTinks. I was talking to him about it, and I was like, here's a bizarre challenge for you. I don't know if this is possible, if there's any way to like firmware update the RetroTink to be compatible with this, because I don't entirely understand what's happening in there. I'm not the engineer, you are, but maybe there's something you can do. So we're chit-chatting about it, and he's just like, does it work with composite and S-Video? I was like, give it a shot, why not? So for that, I took out the RetroTink 2X Pro, because the SCART version doesn't have that natively. And I was about to connect it, and then I realized, I was like, well, hang on, this does have the component ports, and I actually do have the HD Retrovision component cables, which use the same Genesis Model 2 pin output. So I plugged it in, fully expecting to just get the same thing with sound and no video. And much to my surprise, as you can see, it worked quite well. Very strange. And it looks amazing. It's ridiculous. So then I was like kind of just taken aback. I was like, whoa, what? So I contacted Mike again. I was like, you're not going to believe this. It works with those. And he's like, dudes at HD Retrovision know what they're doing. They put extra stuff in there. So there's probably something that's kind of compensating and boosting for whatever the problem is. He thinks it was C-Sync related, but not totally sure. I mean, if they, the engineer dudes, let them dissect the problem if they really want to. But it's more like what we're talking about, why we're talking about any of this is I felt the novelty of the fact that I've got to be the only person in the world to not only care about getting this thing RGB modded outside of maybe like 6 people in the UK, but the fact that we would actually sit down and I'm going to be like, you know what, guys? Screw PS5, screw Xbox Series X. Let's talk about this. And let's talk about, like, let's show RGB footage of this thing. And oh, I'm going to go all out. You know I'm going to go all out. So what I did is I took this thing, and so you connect it to the RetroTink. Now, the console natively outputs 576i, and so when you connect it to the RetroTink, you have the option to just do the pass-through mode. So you'll just get the PAL resolution of 576i, and that'll work. It'll display. Oh, but we ain't done. So RetroTink 2X allows you to line double, okay? That gives you 576p. So once it's a progressive signal, that allows you to then add the filter mode, so you can actually get some smoothing effect on it to make the games look a little sharper, a little nicer. But why stop there? We don't have to stop there. No. We add the M Classic to it. The M Classic will then allow it to be upscaled to 1080p, which frankly is also more of a convenient thing because I am in North America. So even though my television, in this case, my primary TV, does happen to support 576i and 576p, which is very nice because the old ones didn't, as far as video recording options, it's a lot cleaner, and editing software options, it's going to be a lot cleaner. But also just the enhancement benefits that the M Classic offers to it. The better resolution, the better colors, all the anti-aliasing, all that sort of stuff. The idea that we're doing that is just bizarre. But I wanted to do it anyway. And now I'm just going to show you a whole ton of footage of a bunch of various Amiga CD32 games running with this thing. Now, obviously when you look at it, it doesn't, it's a 32 because it was like the whole 32 bits, and that's the era we were in, where bits were the only thing that mattered as far as the market was concerned. And so people hear that and they think like, oh cool, so this is going to have the power of like a PS1 or something. Not really. I mean, people like to pretend like this really is a 4th gen console. It's not. It is indisputably a 5th generation video game console. There is some power under the hood there. It's just like, it was never even close to getting fully utilized. It really was just a complete clone of the other Amiga computers of the time. But the point is, you look at it and it essentially looks like 16-bit, or what we associate mentally with 16-bit era footage, 2D content, but it's definitely more capable than those platforms. That said, we can still take a look at all this crazy color and just the fact that it can look so nice. But enough of me blathering. For the 12 of you potentially who are watching, we're just going to run the gamut here of a whole bunch of Amiga CD32 games, each one for like a minute or two, just so you can see what some of these games look like. And remember the context. These are all running under this insane scenario of RGB modded console, HD Retrovision component cables, line doubled and smoothed out with the RetroTink, then boosted with the M Classic. One other thing I want to mention though, before we get too far into this, and I'm sure you've already kind of noticed it at this point, is how jittery the footage can appear. And I'm sitting here saying, oh no, it looks good. Here's the thing. It is interlaced footage initially, and the RetroTink as well as the M Classic are removing that. So the RetroTink is line doubling, you're getting 576p, and then the M Classic goes from there. But the problem is you are essentially just line doubling, so it is legitimate interlaced footage to begin with. So the human eye doesn't really notice it when you're playing the game on a television, but the capture devices are far more sensitive to it, so it's kind of just, you know, accentuating the issue. So what I'm trying to say is, if you actually had this set up, it would look better on your television than what you're actually seeing here.
Fight.
You really think this is bad?
Well, that was insane, but it was kind of fun, wasn't it? So, I don't know. I know this is a bizarre video because there wasn't like any immediate point. I'm not even saying like, here's the thing, you can go out and get it if you want. The idea that anyone would actually cobble all of this together is the oddity of that, the rarity of that. That's what motivated me to do this, to keep it real with you. Because nobody would care. And the truth is, like, eventually these type of machines will stop working. You won't be able to see what they would have looked like on original hardware, even granted tweaked original hardware. But the fact that you can take original hardware and upgrade it to that, even that small extent, and how much of a difference that can make, and then, you know, adding modern pieces to it to just see what the machine could really look like, and then to broadcast that, you know, the idea that everybody can now see like what some of us potentially missed, and if anybody even cares. But I just like the idea of it. It's like more of like a history preservation thing, if that makes any sense. I really like the idea of preserving video game history. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Thank you to, I mean, even though they didn't do this directly, thank you to Mike Chi for his efforts in this. Thank you to HD Retrovision Cable for apparently having the magic cable that actually makes this thing work. Of course, to Marseille, who, you know, makes all my retro gaming stuff better. And of course, Chris. And Raymond, actually. Raymond for doing the initial work and securing the console all those years ago. But Chris also for being the guy who actually most recently did a lot of work to make all of this very seriously and very directly possible. So actually, I'll put a link to his stuff in the description, specifically for his modification work, because if you need stuff, he's mostly a PC Engine / TurboGrafx 16 guy, but clearly he can do other things too. So I'll put a link in there. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Actually, why not? Let's just put in a link to everybody. Everybody gets links. Castlemania Games, go there to buy the HD Retrovision cables. Marseille's website, get the M Classic. Mike Chi, go there and get a Retro Ting. I don't know where you can get Amazon. You know, I'm not going to put a link to Amazon, but whatever. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Check out the description to check out all the social media: Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, Twitter, whatever. You know, Discord. Join the Discord. Come in and hang out. Anyway, thank you very much, and I'll see you all later.